Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Cool Name RPG Design Journal, number 25, take two. We tried to do this earlier, but we had some problems that were basically all my own fault because I was trying to juggle running this live stream with running games and doing the rules, and I started botching a lot of things up. And we did a number of the rules was completely wrong, which is incredibly embarrassing, and I didn't want the whole world to see that. So simply admitting that, hey, we all can make mistakes along the way. But we're going to give this another shot and see if we can't get you guys all set up and going and seeing how the game plays out and watching a little bit of live dice rolling here on the screen tonight. Now, the usual things that I like to start with. First up is mail call. This is my mail call for the week. Firefly Flux sent to me as a birthday gift from my brother. Awesome. Cannot wait to play it. He's got nothing but good things to say about it. I'm a huge Flux fan and a huge Firefly fan. So I don't think I can go wrong with this. It's going to be awesome. Can't wait to try it. What we've been gaming lately. So over here at the Tassin House, the games that we've been playing each week with the group has been Massive Darkness. Now, the reason why we're mostly playing Massive Darkness is because I'm doing a lot of cool name stuff, so I don't have a whole lot of extra time for preparing campaigns. We also all backed this Kickstarter, and we're like, we should probably try to play the game sometime. And just to give you like context, like this is the game where we are all set up and everything. But I mean, if you haven't seen it, this is some of the minis. And I say some, there are actually more boxes off to the side that the number of minis is outrageous for this game. I mean, it's incredibly fun, and we can't wait to pull out things like the massive dragon figure and everything else. But yeah, we're having a blast playing it. It's a very fun game. So that's been going on right now as well. Another thing I wanted to talk about this week, though, is I just wanted to, I've mentioned our Discord site a lot. Just want to sort of say, make sure to sign up for the Discord, guys. There's lots of good stuff there. There's whole conversations about play testing. We have a library of documents where you can download all the documents we talk about here, all stuff that is really useful. So be sure to check out the Discord and join in the conversation there. So this week, we have a few things that we're going to do. In a minute here, I'm going to be introducing a friend of mine named Matt. He's part of the Mechanical Muse team, and he's going to be working with us today to roll some dice and play out some of the Cool Name RPG rules. But before we do that, there's a few things I want to talk about. Let's see. First off, a huge thank you to all the folks who have been participating. One of the folks involved that I want to sort of give a hat tip to is Target Practice. Target Practice came up with a very cool character sheet design, and we've been using that. It works really well. There's a few things we may tweak down the road, but honestly, it's a very cool design. I want to thank Target Practice for sending that awesome design out over the Discord channels. That was great. Another couple of folks I want to mention are Mike and Drakenisen, who have been doing a bunch of play testing and sharing like blow by blow results of their play tests. Super valuable stuff. And I've been able to pull on a lot of that. On top of that, they've posted some pretty amazing stuff. Let me just pull this up here. Nope, not that one. Sorry. Here we go. Let me bring this up instead. So yeah, look at this, combat build systems. They're coming up with all these amazing documents on looking at ways to leverage the game and put the game together. It's very cool stuff. So keep that stuff coming. That's a huge part of Cool Name is people building their own stuff. And some of this stuff we may be able to blend into the game and make it part of the Cool Name core rules, which would be very cool. Another person I want to give a shout out to is Old Coot 59, who also did a lot of really great blow-by-blow play test information. There were some questions that came up, though, and so we're going to take 1 second here to talk a little bit about Old Coot's questions that came up. One of the first things that was mentioned is that while the skill wheel is a very attractive idea, I don't think it meshes well with the MO focus specialty. Now, if you guys are familiar with I'm not sure if you're familiar with the skill wheel, if you haven't watched some of our previous things, but let me just show you really quick what they're talking about when they say the skill wheel. See, this rather intimidating thing is the skill wheel. Now, this is not intended to be used with MO, focus, and specialty, all right? That's not the intent at all. The skill wheel is actually part of a rules module that we're going to be looking at adding. That's going to add a pretty crunchy skill set with a tree of skills, a lot like what you see in most games, but it's not meant to be used with the MOs. Now, if we take a look at the MOs, right, you can see that there are suggested focuses and specializations. The skill tree is a set tree. It's designed to branch out the way that it's shown in the wheel. So that, if you want to get like the debate ability, you need to get a debate specialization. You need to pick up the persuasion focus first. And before then, you have to have the social skill set, right? So in order to do that, it's a tree. It builds out. That's not how MOs, focuses, and specialties are meant to work. Really, what we're trying to do here is allow people through a cool story and then having a rough rules framework built around it, let you make your character unique and special. And by that, what we're saying is, for example, you might want to be a warrior, which is great, but maybe you want your warrior to be an archer. Well, how do you do that? How do you represent that within the game? Well, if you've taken the MO warrior, and then you take the ranged focus, that lets you sort of show that you've got a little extra ability when it comes to ranged weapons, right? You're a little better than the average Joe when it comes to your ranged weapons. Now, maybe you're just like an expert at crossbows. That's your thing. You fire crossbows, give you another weapon, you don't even know what to do with it. But crossbows, you are the master of crossbows. Well, then you can take a specialty of crossbows, but it could be anything. You could pick blowguns. You could pick rifles if you had that in your game. It's up to you to decide how to build these out. There's no set branch of how this goes forward. And for example, with warrior, we've talked before about intimidation. Intimidation doesn't belong to one MO. It's all about how you build it out within the character, how you define that character, the areas that you specialize in, and those specializations, meaning that you're less capable in other areas, but you're really good in those. And so, for example, maybe you're GM and you talk about it and you're like, I want a focus of leadership in my warrior MO. And the GM might say, that actually would be pretty cool. I could see leadership being an important part of being a warrior. And so they allow you to take leadership. And then within that, you take things like motivate, intimidate, tactics, all these different sorts of things. And it lets you build out that character. And they're unique and it's fair because the points are split out just like everyone else's. It's just that you choose how you split them out. So really that skill wheel is not supposed to be part of the same system. That's a completely separate thing. Another question that came up: does specializing in swords not grant an improved ability to parry? It absolutely does. So if you're making a parry check, you're making an action check and you're going to parry an enemy blow, you are going to be making, in the case of the warrior, you add your warrior MO score, you would add your melee focus score, and then you'd add your swords, long blades, whatever sorts of weapons you've chosen as your specialty. That's going to be your action check for making a parry. Now, someone might say, well, then why would you take defense, the focus of defense, and the MO and the specialty of parry? Well, that's because with that parry, you can use any weapon to parry. If you've specialized in long swords, you're great at parrying with a long sword, but give you a dagger and you just don't quite know what to do with it, right? That's or at least you don't above the level of melee and above, right? But you're not going to have all the bonuses you get to sword. So yeah, you absolutely get that bonus. Parry is just a universal parry specialty as opposed to a specific type of weapon. And so yes, absolutely give you a bonus. You'll see some of that tonight as we go through it. Okay. Before we get into the play testing, there is one other piece that I want to look at with you guys here is the cool name RPG objectives. Now, we've talked about these in the past. They've been around, you can see, for a while. This is when we sat down and said, how should this game feel when you play it? Now, of course, it's a fantasy adventure game, but this is key. Down-to-earth heroes with a handful of exceptional abilities traveling to wondrous places for action-packed adventures where they risk life and limb, negotiating obstacles, overcoming challenges, and vanquishing deadly foes to accomplish extraordinary goals. This is part of what this rule set is designed to emulate. We want to say that these are not your world's greatest superhero going in here and doing this. These are average Joes to a certain extent. We're talking folks like Indiana Jones or James Bond. Yes, I know they're not that ordinary. They're at ordinary adventurer level heroes, right? James Bond, Indiana Jones, John McClane, all of these folks are the ones that we're looking at. Lara Croft, folks that are going to have a little bit of a struggle. They're going to have a little bit of a challenge. They're going to get worn down, but they're going to bounce back and fight again. And that's what we're going for. We're not going for the wiping out everything and there's no challenge and no danger. There is danger for these characters. And yet they need to make it through to the next scene. Otherwise, our story just ends. Now, there's threats. There are dangers. You can die. But we want to make sure that we're capturing this vibe, this sort of almost pulpy feel to the game as we play through it. So that's really, really important. The other thing that we're looking at, and part of why I'm telling you this is for your own play testing. The other thing that's really important to us is the idea that this has to be a toolbox for people to create their own add-ons for this game, right? It should have character. It should be a well-formed, completely playable game, but it also should be easy for people to get in and make their own things. So these are a couple of things that we're shooting for. So as we play through today, keep in mind those goals as we're going through and as you're playing through some of these as well. All right, without further ado, let me introduce our guest tonight is Matt Eberly. Matt, welcome to the show. We appreciate you coming over to do this tonight. This is great.
Oh, thanks for having me, Mark.
Absolutely. So Matt's here because we're going to throw some dice down and actually see how some of this plays out. Now, sometimes we're at the whim of the dice here, right? So folks should recognize that we're not playing through enough to give you a full average of how most combats will turn out. Yeah, he's laughing because he knows that sometimes Matt's dice rolling is pretty amazing and it can skew things a little bit. The point is that we want to do this in front of you and share a little bit about what goes through our minds as we're working through these games. So in order to do this, Matt has been very kind so as to create a group of heroes that we can play with tonight, right? So first up on our roster, and you'll notice hat tip to Target practice for this very cool design. You'll notice that we have Maximus first. Tell us about Maximus, Matt, as you made this character using the same rules as everybody else. Tell us about how you put this guy together.
Yeah, so my goal here, my vision was Maximus was a retired gladiator, and he had turned in the sword, the shield, and the fighting to serve a different purpose, which was serving great beer and ale and having a great time in his bar. And so retiring early, he has a few levels of warrior and he has one level of merchant. And the idea is that, kind of like he's got that innkeeper skill set, but he's also still mostly gruff with his patrons. Unarmed and defense was his focus, and brawling was a specialty. Yeah.
All right. So you ended up taking the warrior MO and you took that at a level 2. You ended up beneath the warrior, you took some focuses, unarmed and defense, sort of your area of expertise here. And then as a specialization in unarmed, you took brawling. How do you envision brawling? Like when you said I'm unarmed, but I'm doing brawling, what's sort of your view of that? Your vision?
It's that scrappy, improvised fighter. It's getting in close, using things around you. It's maybe less of a stance and more of a free flow.
Yeah. So that's a good example of the sort of conversations that you'd want to have with a GM as you're coming up with your specializations and things to sort of have an idea. So the GM's like going, okay, so I know when that makes sense. That's going to work. Now, there might be a little negotiation now and then, but we'll see how that goes. And then, so what that means is for your average attack, your attack score is going to be your attribute, which is coordination when you're making attack rolls. Your MO, which in this case for warrior is 2. Your focus, which is 1, and your specialization, which 1 gives you a total action score of 8 when attacking unarmed. And you're going to be doing D6 plus D10. Yep. Now, one of the challenges of attacking unarmed, and this is something that we've clarified in the rules recently, and which you may not even know, Matt, is that unarmed attacks are non-lethal. And so when he's making unarmed attacks, he's making non-lethal attacks. It doesn't mean that he couldn't cause a wound that kills someone. It doesn't mean that something couldn't go terribly wrong or right, depending on your point of view. But the idea here is that it's non-lethal damage. And so that's important for us to remember. So when we see that he also has a club, That's also quite useful. Now, clubs are interesting, Matt, because in the rules that we are about to release another update, clubs allow you to do non-lethal damage without a penalty. Normally, with a lethal weapon like a sword or an axe or something like that, if you want to do non-lethal, it's going to add +1 to the difficulty score. Clubs are handy because they don't add that to the difficulty score if you want to do non-lethal damage. Just a way that you can sort of smack someone around without actually taking them out completely if you need to. And again, for an innkeeper, the perfect weapon, right?
Exactly. Keep the floors clean as possible.
And for the last bit here, we have Intimidate. So Intimidate is based off his presence. And so that's going to have a 3. And the MO is a 1. So the type of intimidation you were imagining, what were you thinking about when you put this together?
You know, and this one, Mark, I could go either way. So in some ways, I'm thinking about intimidation as that gruffy innkeeper who's trying to keep, the page is pretty settled, right? But he does it in that kind of harsh tone, a little bit of, jabbing of words. And I thought that was one approach. But now that we've been talking, I could totally see it play the other way. Whereas in combat, in his time as a gladiator, we might use a different MO and maybe even go down the stack a little bit to get more bonuses, because it could be much more of a, like, in the heat of battle, how do I intimidate my opponent?
See, my only thing that I would think there as a GM, I'd say, well, you can do that, but you're going to kind of terrify your customers.
Oh, so I wouldn't use it there. Yeah.
So like if your paying customers are there, you probably want to use the innkeeper voice, which is like the equivalent of like teacher voice, right?
Yeah.
As you go along. Now, we should note that for toughness and coordination in him, you chose 4s, which is the highest number you can get. You have 2 4s that you can spend on your character, and you put them both in toughness and coordination. So this character is going to be pretty darn capable in a fight, right?
He is. And I thought about potentially raising his wisdom intelligence a little bit more.
Mm-hmm.
But, he's still a fighter at heart, and that's his core, right?
Not a problem. So I just want to talk about this ahead of time so that as we go into play it, we have a sense of how this is going to turn out. So tonight, we aren't going to necessarily do a role play, but what we are going to do is bring up our Cool Name RPG Battle Tracker trademark. Not actually. I should put a little TM down here, right? Down in the corner, right? Trademark it. So our Cool Name RPG Battle Tracker, and we're going to add in our characters. So we've got our hero, and it's Maximus is his name, yes?
Yep, you got it.
All right, Maximus. And what's Maximus's vitality, his max?
His vitality max is 11.
Okay, so he's got a current of 11, and he has no wounds. What's his wound threshold?
My wound threshold is going to be a 4.
4, which is up there. It's your toughness that determines your wound threshold. So we've got him there. So let's start out tonight. I'm going to try out a goblin, just a straight up goblin, easy, no trouble at all guy. I say that now, no trouble at all. You know where this is going to end up now.
I do. I know where I ended up. I ended up with the trash out back. And the goblins raid my stuff.
So we've got a goblin. Now, I gave goblins an attack of 4. Because if we look at this as far as skill set, they aren't quite skilled. I kind of figure orcs are the skilled warriors of the world. These goblins, your average goblin, is just kind of a scruffy troublemaker. So I gave them a 4, but I also gave them a defense of 5 because I feel like they're wiry and they're able to get out of the way if they need to. Yeah. As far as their damage bonus goes, I gave them a damage bonus of 0. Only because their claws and teeth that they're using to scratch at you and bite you, these goblins, you can give them spears and things if you wanted to. But for today, we're going to start out with them just scratching at you. Yeah. They don't get a bonus to the damage. They just get to do lethal damage. And so that's their benefit there. Now, as far as vitality goes, they've got a vitality of 9. The reason why they have a vitality of 9 is that, at least for my purposes right now, I'm just sort of adding together their attack and defense. I'm not saying this is how we're going to do it in the long run, but that's what I'm doing. And I gave him an armor of 1. Now, one thing I didn't put up here, does Maximus have, the way you've designed him, is he just wearing his apron and shirt, or is he wearing some sort of armor?
He's actually wearing a light leather jerkin.
All right.
And he does have his heavy apron on also. So kind of layers of leather is my thought.
So sadly, my battle tracker does not actually take into account armor for the hero, but we'll work with it. So let's go ahead and see how this goes. Now, normally we would roll for initiative. let's go ahead and have you give a roll of your coordination to see what your initiative is.
Yeah. So I have an initiative 6. So I'm rolling 2d6.
Okay. And you'll notice he has a 6 because he's got a warrior with MO2. So warrior MO.
I'm quick on my feet. I've been at this dumpster before, and there's been animals out there. I rolled the 6 open-ended. 6 again. We're just gonna stop there. That's 18.
We're off to a scary start, Matt. You've already open-ended twice on your first roll. So clearly you will be going first. So you are out taking the garbage out to the dumpster, and sure enough, a goblin pops out and attacks you. You get to make the first attack. What is Maximus going to do?
Well, assuming this is a roll where goblins, they deserve to be beaten up a little bit. I'm gonna go for it here. I'm gonna take it and kind of slam him into the trash can.
All right, so you're just going to do an unarmed attack. You're brawling and just sort of smash him into the trash can. Perfect. Now, the goblin's defense is a 5. So what you're going to be doing is have a difficulty score of 5. Now, I am going to say this. You've decided that you're out back putting out the garbage.
Yeah.
Well, I think it's kind of dark.
Oh,
so
it is dark.
Difficulty 6 for you. So I'm going to add +1 to your difficulty score.
Yeah. With that kind of initiative, do I have to drop on him? Would I get a bonus?
I'm afraid you don't for these purposes. We mainly just want to get you swinging at stuff. So not tonight.
Not tonight. All right. Well,
I'm pretty sure you'll make short work of him anyway. So we'll see.
Yeah, probably. Famous last words. D6, D10. I only got a 4 on my initial attack against him. So
wow. So against a 6, so you missed completely.
I did.
All right. So now, as a lot of folks here know, one of the things that was very popular was this idea of player-facing roles, which means the player rolls for everything. I, as the GM, I've got dice here, but they just sit over here sad, collecting dust. And the goblin now is leaping at you, and his attack score is a 4. So that's going to give you to defend against this. The difficulty score is going to be 4 + 1 for the darkness, so 5.
All right. And I'm rolling an 8 defense. And so I've got a D6, D8.
Yep.
I opened it at a 6 with another 6. I'm good.
All right. So the first round goes by. You try to slam him. He leaps out of the way. Doesn't work. But then you come back. He comes back at you, but you manage to dodge his attack. All right. Next attack.
Yeah. I'm just
back to you.
Yep. Maximus is going to put him in chokehold. He's going to grab him, get him tight brawling wise. Try to put him in the chokehold. And
you're going to grab him and just try to hurt him by doing a chokehold. No, we don't have any grappling rolls, so we're just treating this as a normal brawling.
We're going to unarmed brawl. Yeah. So D6, D10. 7.
7. So the target number was 6. The difficulty score was 6. You rolled a 7. So you're doing a base damage of 1 to him, but unfortunately, he's got armor, so it bounces off his armor.
Do I still have him in the luck? No.
So no, you don't have him in the. Well, I'll tell you what. I'm going to give you a bonus to your defense when he's attacking you this round. So he's going to have just a defense of straight 5 this round. I'm giving, he's going to. Sorry, positive things always go to the player. So add 1 to your action score against his defense of 6, fighting him in the dark.
Beautiful. So my defense goes from 8 to 9. So I'll have a D6 and a D12. Oh, that's really good. I defend without a problem. I got a 13.
All right. So you've got him sort of in this half hold. What are you going to do with him now?
I'm just going to go with a straight up punch. None of this fancy stuff. Just go an unarmed punch. This goblin's annoying me at this point.
All right.
D6, D10. Oh, yep. There we go. That is going to be a 14. So 14.
14. Oh boy, yeah. So basically, you beat him by 8.
Yeah.
And -1 for his armor. That drops him down to a 2 vitality. So this goblin you got a good blow in on him. Now the goblin is a mook. He's just a minion. So we're not going to actually give him wounds, right? Wounds are typically reserved for players and for main characters who might be coming back again and again. For these folks who are just going to go down, we'll never see them again. We're not worrying about wounds at this point. Now, we may change that if people find that they're really bummed out that they did 8 points of damage and the goblins got no negative modifiers at this point. So Okay, the goblin is angry now. So he comes at you, kicking and screaming and yelling. There's going to be a difficulty of 5 again to dodge his attack. Now, are you dodging? Is that your plan?
That's a good question. I have been dodging with the space I have. He's not. He's just biting and clawing. So I guess I could parry, couldn't I?
Well, you don't actually have a weapon that can be used to parry at the moment, right? You'd have to have your club out for that. And so keep in mind, there are 3 ways that you can defend, which is to dodge, which means you need to have space around you other than your opponent, 5 feet on all other sides. Or you can also parry, but you need to have a weapon that can be used to parry with, or you can block, which means you need to have a shield. So you're just have to dodge this one. So you're going to go ahead and try to dodge. He comes at you.
All right. Yeah, 12.
All right.
Oh,
so I've got some bad news for you. Unfortunately, goblins don't generally just fight all alone, right? They usually have friends with them. And one of the things that the goblins do is when they've got their friends with them, the way they attack is one goblin attacks you, which starts with an attack of 4.
Yep.
And then each of their friends add +1 to that attack. Now it's still your turn to fight first. We haven't taken your turn yet.
Yeah. All right. He's gonna go after the first goblin still.
Okay.
Yeah, and he's gonna do D6, D10. All right, that's a 12.
All right, so you beat his number by 6, plenty of damage. Yep. You managed to kill the first goblin just in the nick of time before everyone comes at you. The remaining 3, though, are just like, Globlock, how dare you kill our friend? And they come charging you. So instead of each one attacking individually, the goblins are going to team up on you. So I'm going to give the goblins, they have a base attack of 4.
Yep.
They get +1 because it's dark.
Yep.
And then I'm going to give a +1 for each of the additional goblins. So you're looking at a difficulty of 7 right now to get out of the way.
All right, I'm going to dodge. I have a D6, D8. D6, D8. Open end the 6. Oh, for a 1. 7, 10.
10.
Made it by 1, right?
So you made it. You did make it, but unfortunately for me, but that was a close one. You open-ended. You and your open ends. Wait.
Casino dice, buddy. Casino dice.
Good. I'm making sure we have some D6s of questionable fairness. I've actually got a big bag of them right over here. The Mechanical Muse D6s. I love these dice, but they basically roll 6s a lot. So
way too often.
Just warning you, if you ever get yourself some Mechanical Muse dice, some Ataltis dice, they're kind of unfair. So anyway, good. You're not using those, but apparently it's not helping any. So go ahead and make your attack back against the goblins.
All right, I'm gonna try to attack them. I was thinking about intimidation, see after I killed their friend, but I don't think it's gonna work. So I'm just gonna keep swinging here. D6, D10. I got a 10 for my attack against their 6.
Yep.
So I got 4 damage on 3 damage on the next one.
Yep, with the armor off. So all right, so you smack the next one down. All right, they come back at you. They're doing the same attack. So we've got 3 goblins attacking you. So attack 4, 5, 6, 7 is their attack.
Yep. All right. Well, I've got only got a 5.
All right. So they managed to hit you for 2 points.
Yep.
But you actually only end up taking 1 point because you have armor.
Yep. So I take my first severity 1 wound.
Yep. So, well, no, you don't have a wound. You'd have to take 4 points of damage to take a wound.
Thank you, Mark.
Yeah. So one of the things that had come up in the past is people talked about the need for if the monsters roll, they can get open ends. The only challenge with that is that the way this game tends to work is that the heroes tend to do pretty well until they don't. And then at that point, all of a sudden, things get kind of ugly fast. Let's say for a second here, before you do this, what I might do as a GM, because I'm sitting here going like, okay, these goblins, it's dark. They don't have a great chance here in terms of trying to beat you because they're just little guys and you are, and I want to remind folks, you are kind of a bad donkey.
Yeah, he's not my wizard without mana points, right?
Yeah, so here's what I'd like to do is let's look through some of your characters.
Yeah.
And let's pull out Maximus, who is basically the brick of any fighting unit. And take a look at someone who's going to be a little bit more
I think the Ranger would you be a little bit more balanced with defense and offense?
He wouldn't though, because the Rangers got a 4 and 4 on that as well. Let's take a look at your let's have Sir Cedric jump in here.
Yeah, Sir Cedric Iron Shield.
Yep.
Formidable cleric known for his unwavering faith and dedication.
All right, Sir Cedric has a vitality of 9.
Yep,
and a wound threshold of 4, so that's still good. So Sir Cedric's got that going for them. And Sir Cedric is wearing some pretty great armor. So that's one of their main benefits they've got here. So we'll see, though, how much that helps Sir Cedric.
All right, so you leave it in on me.
So old Maximus steps back, tags in Sir Cedric, who now is going up against the goblins here. And we'll see how Sir Cedric does under these circumstances. So Sir Cedric jumps into the fray, has a let's see, you've got 3 for cleric.
Yep.
So that's going to be your base attack roll. Your attribute coordination is 2, so it's going to give you a 5, but you don't really have any, you're not a warrior, so you don't have weapon focuses or specialization. So you're rolling a D12 with an attack action score of 5.
Correct. Yep. Yeah, he's more of a battlefield medic. It was designed for him. All right. So I attack and I get an 8 on my first one. So I do land it against the 6.
Yep, you do.
1 damage to that guy.
Oh, let me get up my right screen here. So 1 damage to this one. Okay. And then they come at you using their usual team ups. Yep. 4 plus 1 plus 1 plus 1. So we're looking at a 7.
All right. 2d6 is my defense. Oh, not good. You said a 7?
Yeah.
All right. I got a 3.
Okay, so you got a 3. Now, the only thing that's saving Sir Cedric is somehow this first level character is wearing full plate. Now, I have questions about where Sir Cedric got full plate, but
fair enough.
We're going to give Cedric something a little bit more reasonable and give Sir Cedric a 1 point of armor instead as a first level character.
What about his shield? Do you want to count his shield and to give me the 2?
We're going to leave the shield out for the time being.
Fair enough.
All right, so Sir Cedric comes back at the goblins.
Fair enough. Yeah, and he's going to roll a d12. Hold on a second. How much damage did I take then? So
you took 2 points,
which is no threshold. We're good.
Yep, you're good still.
7. So again, actually 0 damage because it's 6 and then 1 armor.
Yep. So you're not going to do any damage to these folks. So, boink. Then they come back at you. Action. Your difficulty score is 7.
Yep. I rolled a 3, so it's a 4 again. So I take 3.
So yep, you take 3 minus 1, so 2 more. Now on this round,
it was 4 minus 1 is 3.
Oh, 3. Thank you.
Yep. I'm gonna recover, man. I need to do a.
So on this round, the goblins.
Yeah.
So they made their attack. You're going to recover, and so go ahead and make a toughness roll.
Yep. So my toughness is a 4.
Yep. And then
D10. I get back 6.
Well, hold up for just a second here. I want to make sure we don't do things wrong again. So we get this right. I'm going to pull up recovery. All right. Equal to the total severity scores of your wounds, which is none. So, yep. So how many did you get back?
6.
6. So you're back up to 9.
Yep.
They, however, take this round and they're going to try to position themselves better so that they have a better attack on you.
Oh,
so next round, they're going to have an 8 for your defense.
Ooh. All right. I'm gonna try to mace one of the guys here. So I got a D12. Open ended 12. Open end, then I got an 11.
He's dead. We're good. You crushed his skull.
Let's go through the neck. No.
Okay, so unfortunately, instead of having a 8 this round, they just got the same 7 again, thanks to your open-ended roll.
I threw them off on that one. That's an amazing bit of luck there. All right, so 6, 2d6. I got a 4. Yep.
So you miss by 3, and you go down, take some more points again.
2 points down. Yep. All right.
So now goblins are pretty easy stuff.
Yeah.
So the goblins get scared and run away, and so our goblins are gone. But unfortunately, the threat is not over, because out of the corner you hear a roar of anger, and out comes an orc. Now this orc has an attack of 6.
Yeah.
He gets 1 bonus on damage, has a 6 defense, 2 armor, and 12 vitality. Now, to be fair, in the game, this is a more even odds fight.
Yeah.
For our basic characters. Goblins are relatively easy. They harry you, they eat up your vitality, they take up your actions, and eventually they will get in some hits on you, because I've seen it happen. This orc is going to be more of a straight up challenge. So let's see how you do against Garthok. Garthok the Bold, we're going to say. The Bold with a vitality of 12. Oh, my goodness. Let's make vitality 12 and armor 2. That's what I meant. All right. So you're first, Sir Cedric. Here comes Garthak the Bold. What you going to do? And you get your shield now, too. So I'm going to give you your shield.
Got my shield, thankfully. As I pick up my shield, I go for him. I'm going to, man, I just want to give him a cheap shot, man. I want to knock the wind out of him, but.
Let's just see what a straight up shot will do. We're just trying to get a sense of the.
Well, I don't have much hope here. I need to go big, Mark. I need to
okay.
All right. No, I got a 2. So that is not.
You got a 2. So no, that was not big. That was
not big. I told you I need to go big here.
All right. So then he comes at you, and your difficulty score is a 6.
Yeah.
He swings his big scimitar at you.
I am this time going to parry with my. No, I'm going to block with my shield.
You're going to block with your shield. All right. Yeah. Which is, let's talk about your character for a second here.
Yeah.
I'm going to bring your character back up. Here we know that you've got your cleric ability, but then you've got a specialization in or a focus in defense.
Right. Yeah.
So you're going to get 3 + 1, 4 plus your coordination. So a total of 6 is going to be your action score.
That's right, sir.
Yep. Right. So D6 + D6.
This is going to hurt. Just saying. I'm going against a 7, was it? Because he has a +1 block?
A 6 in this case. Yep.
I've got myself a 5. So
a 5. All right. So
better than
that means that they do 1 point of damage plus 1 point of damage because the weapon gives them a bonus. So they're doing 2 points of damage. Fortunately, Sir Cedric has their shield this time, so they're able to block it. All right. So back to Sir Cedric.
Yep. He's going to do his attack. He gets a 10.
All right. So against a defensive 6,
can you throw the other sheet
4 points you're going to get through.
Yep.
2 points are going to get taken off by the armor. And so Garthak the Bold is down to 10 at this point. Now, Garthak the Bold is going to take a moment to sort of line up their shot. They're going to try to get the look at you and sort of figure things out and get a bonus to their next attack. You're up.
Can you swap over to the other screen?
Yep. Yeah. I'm sorry. I'm looking at the other screen, but no one else is. So
not a problem. All right. So I'm going to attack him. I am going to. Is he unarmed and look like he's going to do like a horn attack, or does he look like?
He's got a scimitar. He's got a great big sword, so he's just sort of like lining it up and trying to figure out how to get the best shot in on you.
I'm going to try to smash that hand. Hopefully, do a ton of damage to it and see if I can get him to drop the darn thing. I know we don't have disarm rules, but I'm just going for a big.
All right. So what we're going to say is, if you truly want to disarm it, here's what I'm going to do.
Yeah.
I'm going to say that your defense is his defense score is a 6.
Yep. Goes
I'm
up.
going to add +1 because you're trying to hit him in a certain place, and I'm going to add additional +1 because you're trying to get a certain effect. It's not that you're just trying to bypass armor or something. You're literally trying to get effect. So we're going to say you're looking at a difficulty score of 8.
8, and I got a D12. This will be interesting. All right. Let's see. I'm going to roll it again for you, Mark. Oh, it's only a 1. All right.
Okay.
13.
So now I'm
13.
going to want you to go ahead and make a strength check to
Oh.
try to like blast that thing out of his hand.
All right. So I've got strength of 3. Don't know if my cleric training at all would help with this.
I don't think so. I don't see your cleric training as being pretty especially focused on this sort of action.
No, I'm having a hard time with that. All right, D8. Feel a little naked on this one. All right, come on, big bucks. No whammy. 7.
A 7. All right. I'm going to say you knock it out of his hand. So you blast the sword out of his hand. So when he comes at you, he has to just come at you with fists.
All
And he
right.
comes at you and swings at you with his fist. It's going to be a difficulty of 7 to dodge the attack.
No, I rolled snake eye, sir.
A 1?
A 1 and a 1.
Okay, 2. So he beat you by 5. Your armor is going to protect you from 2.
Yep.
So you're going to end up at a 4. So you still wait. What's your wound threshold?
4.
Okay,
Yeah,
so you're still good on.
Missing it by 1.
This is a very high wound threshold. Yeah.
I did take a high toughness. I figured this guy was, had a lot of endurance and
That's fair. So Garthak the Bold hits you and clocks you 1. We're going to say Garthak is wearing spiked gloves. He just doesn't get the 1 bonus to damage, right? Because he doesn't have a scimitar.
I'm good with that. All
right.
All right. So that was your attack on me, and then it's my attack on you. D12. I'm going to go for just a goal smash the chest here. I got an 8.
An 8, you hit.
Yeah.
Does damage, but again, he's got too much armor, so it makes it pretty tough to get through.
Yeah.
So one of the challenges that we've run into, and some other people have run into this as well, there's a few things that happen. Either enemies end up going down pretty quickly and not doing a lot of damage, or it ends up being a pretty tough, pretty even fight. And so that's one of the things that we're going to have to understand is how are we going to tune this system so that the combat ends up coming out a little bit more evenly. I don't think the problem is the combat. I think the combat actually works pretty well in terms of just picking up dice and throwing them. But I do think that the balance is a little bit off right now. Yeah. That we're going to have to figure out how to make that work.
It'd be really interesting to think about what it looks like with more dynamics, like multiple players and multiple monsters, how the tactics change to get those advantages.
Yeah. And, when we've seen some of that, what we've seen is some pretty dynamic things going on, especially because what I think is going to have to happen, and I actually like this, and we're going to have to make sure everyone else agrees with me on this, but I like the idea that the game doesn't lend itself to just randomly hitting over and over again.
Right.
And if that's all you do is just sit there and slug at the other person repeatedly, you're not going to get anywhere. You have to come up with strategies and tactics and ideas and things that influence and change the combat and make it more dynamic. And I think that's actually a good thing. I don't think that's a bad thing. And so I would love to see, more of that as well to figure out how that fits into the whole scope of it.
Yeah. No.
All right. So just for my own sake, last of all, I'd like to bring out your wizard, who
sure,
not the juggernaut.
Not the juggernaut.
No.
All right, the wizard. I like the wizard
out. So Terra Magus here. Terra Magus is
he's had a rough day.
Terra Magus's vitality is 8.
Yeah.
They have 0 wounds, and they have a 3 wound threshold. So for whatever reason, Cedric and Maximus, they were never here. The universe has decided that Terra Magus is the one who's been fighting Garthak the Bold, and Terra Magus needs to finish this fight up.
He does.
So Terra Magus grabs their staff, and you get to make the first attack.
Let me just confirm here.
Yes.
I had a hard day. Most of my mana points, because we don't have this yet, are exhausted.
Yes.
At this point. Do I have my stone skin up for any armor? Are we good?
All you've got is your staff. Got your staff. Yeah, this is just for my own sadistic pleasure at this point.
Oh, man. All right. So my poor staff. So I am a trained wizard, and I have a coordination of 3.
And note that each of the MOs that we have do have weapon training for appropriate weapons for their character class. In this case, you have a staff, which is completely appropriate for a wizard, at least in the way that I envision wizards in the world. If you had a long sword or something, we might have to debate that a little bit, depending on what wizards are like. And if it's not quite the right weapon, I might add 1 to the difficulty score of your attacks. But we're not. We're just going to say that you got a staff. That's good. It's the right weapon for you. So you get to add both your coordination, which is a 3, and your MO, which is a 2.
Yep.
So you get a total of a 6 for your action score.
5, 3, and 2.
Oh, 3. Yes, 3 and 2. I'm good at math.
That's all good. It's all good. D12. He does not land a bullet.
Okay. So now Garthak comes at you screaming. He's picked up his scimitar and comes and takes a huge swing at your character.
All right, my defense is I have a coordination of 3. Yeah. It's not going to be great. What else I have is 3 and then
3 and 2. You're going to parry with the staff, most likely.
That's right. 3 and 2. Good gosh.
Yeah.
All right,
So a total of 5. You hold D12.
3, sir. So
all right, a 3.
7, 4.
So your difficulty score was 6.
Yep.
You missed it by 3. So he's doing 3 points of damage to you. And that drops you down to 5. It also means you now took a wound.
It does.
Now you're wounded, which is going to add 1 to your difficulty scores. So now when you come back at him with your staff to attack, your difficulty now is going to be a 7 to try to hit.
His defense goes up, right?
That's right. All negatives always go to the difficulty side. And since we're doing player facing, you're rolling.
All right. I got a 9 on my staff.
A 9 on your staff. And I just want to clarify something. His defense doesn't go up. The difficulty score to hit him goes up. So normally it's difficult because of his defense. It's a 6, but because you're also hurt, now it's even more difficult to get a good swing at.
Thank you.
And what did you get?
9.
A 9. So not bad. I got to admit, Terramagus is apparently, really looking to get in some damage. And so a 9, you beat it by 3 minus 2. So he's down to 7. So Garthak the Bold is being whittled away from that 12 he had originally. You'll note that I put a little 1 here. The board isn't perfect for this, but wounds have a severity level that is equal to the number of points that the number of times that you've crossed your wound threshold. So if you took 3 damage, it's severity 1. If you take 6 damage, it's severity 2. So what happened, Matt? You made your attack, and I take it didn't, or he attacked you, and I take it didn't go well.
Yeah, not as good as I was really hoping here. No, I got a 4.
A 4. All right. So against his attack score is a 6 plus 1 to the difficulty score because you're wounded.
Yep.
So you're gonna have a 7, and you got a 4. So he beat you by 3 again. So now you're down to 2, and now you've got 2 severity 1 wounds.
All right. I'm gonna try to just kick up mud into his eyes to get him to miss me next time. I want to make it harder for him to attack.
Give you a free round. All right. So you're going to try to throw some dirt into his eyes. So I'm going to say that, his defense score is a 6. It's going to be +2 to an 8 because he is, you're wounded.
Yeah.
And then I'm going to say that it's going to be a +1 to hit him in the eyes with it, an additional +1 for it to be blinding. So you need a 10.
I need a 10, and my coordination is a 3. My wizard probably doesn't factor into it, but my scholar, I'm really good at geometry and physics. I'm just saying.
I'm going to give you your wizard MO or your scholar MO. Sure. So you got a 4 for your action score.
And my focus is science, and my specialization is earth. No.
Well, that specialization goes with your other focus. Unfortunately.
Fair enough. All right. So I got the +1. So that's a 4. Let's give you a D10. I need to open end this. Oh, the suspense. All right. Here we go. Right here. 4.
A 4.
No, missed it by a minute.
Not enough. The dirt goes flying at him and he just cackles. Now, we did forget one important step here that I do want us to go back and do. When you take a wound, it could kill you. All right. So what happens is that you need to make a toughness check
All right.
equal to the severity of all your character's current wounds. So first, when you took your first wound, you should have made a toughness check against a difficulty of 1,
A
which
difficulty of 1, and I
you're
have
going to make.
toughness of 3. Would have made it. Yeah.
Yeah. So on the next one, however, you're going to need to make a toughness check against a difficulty of 2 because you have 2 severity worth of wounds.
All right. And so I still have, and I don't have any. Okay, that's what goes up. So my toughness is 3 to 8. I got a 4.
Good. Not dead yet.
Not dead yet. Not dead yet.
Well, there are some things that you could do before we're going to wrap up here pretty quick because we're almost out of time. But there are some things that you could do. For example, you could choose to treat wounds while you are in combat, which means sort of like running and diving behind cover for a moment while the bad guy comes at you and quickly winding a thing around your wounds so that the wounds no longer affect your difficulty score. That's one of the things that you can do. We also saw that we had a recovery action previously that gave you back a few points because when you get down to 0 vitality, you're not dead. You're simply staggered.
Right.
And you're just not able to act at that moment, which is, again, where the dynamic of having more people on your team is pretty important because someone else can jump in and cover you while the enemy comes in so you don't just beat on you while you're stumbling about staggered and trying to get back a few vitality points. So that's where I think we're going to call it, Matt, because we had about 10 minutes left before the hour, and I like to try to cut things off a little bit early. But thank you very much for doing this. I appreciate it, and thank you for doing it twice.
Happy to. It's been fun both times.
We got it right this time around, though, so much better this time around. But thanks again, and I'm sure you'll be back at some point on a design journal in the future.
Yeah, happy
Talk to you later, Matt. Well, folks, you've whiled away an hour watching us roll some dice, play the game. We told you that there was going to be stuff we need to tune and tweak, and that's absolutely the case. But the thing about it is that the basics, the fundamentals of it aren't hard to pull off. It's very easy to find your target numbers. It's very easy to figure out damage. It's very easy to figure out when wounds occur. It's all about tuning, and that's what I'm really excited about at this point, is that really that's a problem that is good to have because that just involves sort of changing some of the base numbers a little bit, changing what dice, where our standard number is and how that works, where the armor level is. We still want to try to keep it fairly tight because we want to keep this simple and straightforward and intuitive, but we do need to look at how to tune it a little bit more. But that's it for now. There's more to come soon. I'll be sharing out a new version of the playtest rules shortly. Keep in mind that these new versions are basically the same. They just have some minor changes. I'm going to show you just really quick here what I'm talking about. For this one here, you'll see that these are the changes here. We're adding some lists of armors, added some weapon scores, added some sample monsters at the end. The rules are generally the same, so it's not going to change the way you've been playing the game. Just putting in some clarifications as we go along, and we'll be posting those onto the Discord channel. Now, I will say that once we get to the point where we have the full testable rule set, which we're still shooting for, and it's going to be tight, but I think we can do it. Early January, like 1st of January time scale, we will be sending that first to our backers. So make sure that if you're not a backer, you can late pledge. The links are around. We've got them around. I can post them again. But make sure that you are a backer because we're going to send those to the backers first. We're also planning some of our focus groups and our Q&As for some of our higher level backers. So that's coming as well. So more to come on that. In the meantime, thank you all. I appreciate it. Thanks for watching. And in the meantime, good gaming. And we will talk to you later on.